Hello, LTV viewers. You're watching the March 14th, 2025 edition of East End News. This is your community and your news. I'm Christine Sampson. Our top story this week is the South Fork Brush Fires, which burned hundreds of acres in the West Hampton area over the weekend. Our friends at 27East.com were on the scene, cameras in hand.
This is what remains after a fast-moving fire scorched some 420 acres of land in the vicinity of Gabreski Airport in West Hampton, Eastport, and Manorville on Saturday afternoon. A stretch of Sunrise Highway several exits long was closed to traffic, and ominous plumes of smoke could be seen for miles. 27East.com reports that it took 600 volunteers from 80 fire departments, 10 emergency medical teams, 4 helicopters from the New York National Guard, and fire rescue officials from Suffolk County at least a whole day to fully knock down and contain the fire, which officials now suspect was sparked accidentally by a family making s'mores in their backyard in Manorville. Governor Kathy Hochul declared a state of emergency to expedite the response. She announced later that the 4 New York National Guard helicopters made 88 water drops totaling about 24,000 gallons to control the flames, which were spreading rapidly due to wind gusts of about 45 miles per hour.
It started in Center Mauritius and jumped to East Mauritius and then Eastport and then the North Pine Barrens, all around this industrial park and airport. Our biggest concern, and if anyone drove here by Sunrise Highway, look at Sunrise Highway on the south side, you'll see all the burn marks there.
Officials are calling this the West Hampton Pines Fire, and for some, it was a bleak reminder of the 1995 wildfires that jumped the highway and burned for days.
We thought this fire would jump the highway, in which case we'd be in big problems, because that's where most of the pine barrens are.
While fires like these can mean disaster for people and wildlife, the Pine Barrens are what's known as a fire-dependent ecosystem. According to the Central Pine Barrens Commission, that means this region actually requires fire, usually in the form of controlled burns, to, quote, maintain forest health and regenerate. Too much growth leads to an increased wildfire risk, especially when combined with the devastation left behind by the invasive southern pine beetle on the South Fork. 27 East also reports that 2 firefighters were injured in the fire. While no houses were lost to the fire, one business along County Road 31 was destroyed and another suffered heavy damage. A burn ban was immediately enacted and is still in effect in Southampton Town as well as East Hampton Town. East End News will keep an eye on this subject and bring you updates when available.
And now some good news for the commercial fishing industry and those who enjoy local seafood. East Hampton Town announced on March 5th that the emergency dredging of Lake Montauk Inlet has been completed. Due to shoaling over the last several years, some parts of the channel had been as shallow as 3 feet, preventing fishing vessels from being able to unload their catch. Now, the inlet has been restored to a depth of 12 feet in most areas. About 10,000 cubic yards of sand was removed from the channel. Just how much sand is that? Well, imagine a typical dump truck with a load of 16 cubic yards. The dredge vessel pulled about 625 dump trucks worth of sand out of the inlet. This took a coordinated effort between citizen advocates and all levels of government, local, state, and national, to get the Federal Army Corps of Engineers out to Montauk. East Hampton Town Supervisor Kathy Burke-Gonzalez hailed the project, saying that it was about, quote, more than just removing sediment. It was about restoring a lifeline for our community. Lake Montauk plays a critical role in our town's economy and way of life, and this project ensures it remains safe and accessible for everyone. Some big congratulations are in order for some hardworking local students. East Hampton High School has named its valedictorian Abe Stillman and its salutatorian Ava Tintle for the class of 2025. They worked extra hard to achieve the 2 highest grade point averages in the senior class. Their guidance counselors tell LTV that Abe has accrued more than 800 hours of community service. He's a science whiz whose research on stroke risk factors has earned him awards and even publication in a peer-reviewed journal. He is also a record-setting pole vaulter and captain of the track and field team. After high school, Abe plans to study biology at Columbia University. And as for Ava, she's a star in the classroom and on the playing field, too. She is co-founder of the French Club and president of the Science National Honor Society, and will graduate as an advanced placement scholar with distinction. Her interests lie in environmental advocacy and women's empowerment. She is committed to playing lacrosse at Washington and Lee University next year. More accolades, too, go to Southampton High School seniors Ava Tintle and Walter Krieg. They've been named Employee of the Month in their respective career training programs at the Eastern Long Island Academy of Applied Technology. Ava is studying animal science, and Walter is taking the computer repair and networking course. For drivers in Hampton Bays, here's an important announcement about the Ponquogue Bridge, which had been closed for several days earlier this month. Now, officials have reopened the bridge under some strict new traffic limitations. Only vehicles under 5 tons and certain types of ambulances will be permitted to use the bridge. According to Southampton Town, drivers are, quote, urged to use caution due to modified traffic patterns. Suffolk County says the emergency repair efforts are underway with the goal of, quote, restoring the bridge to full capacity as soon as possible. Also on the waterfront, boaters in East Hampton Town should take note of some updates to the way the town oversees its docks and moorings. Need a permit or a renewal? The town clerk's office is no longer handling this process. Instead, it's now an online system that rests in the hands of the Marine Patrol Harbor Master's office, which will be handling all dockage slips and mooring permits starting March 15th. For those who haven't filed their slip renewals yet, the deadline has been extended to April 15th to allow for adjustments to the new system. Senior Harbor Master Timothy Treadwell said in a statement that, quote, our goal is to make the application and renewal process more accessible and user-friendly for all slip and mooring permit holders. We appreciate the community's patience and cooperation as we implement these improvements. Anyone with questions is asked to email Mr. Treadwell through the East Hampton Town Police Department. Those who live in Southampton Town should take note of a potential town code change. Fines for people who violate stop work orders could jump by as much as $750 per day. Councilman Michael Iacilli has introduced legislation to raise the fines for those convicted of this type of town code violation. Currently, there is no standard fine that a judge can impose in these cases. It may also apply to unpermitted land clearing and excavation and other construction-related violations. The town's goal, Mr. Iacilli said in a statement, is to deter illegal activity and hold contractors and residents accountable. He said, quote, we have received plenty of comments from our community that the town has to tighten its regulations when it comes to violators of stop work orders. It is important that we stand firmer on the notion that you can't do whatever you want just because it's the cost of doing business. The stop work order legislation is still in the early stages of development. More to come on that. PSEG is continuing its regional upgrades. The electrical power provider announced this week that it's focusing next on Montauk in a 4-month effort to reduce outages on the South Fork. PSEG is installing stronger utility poles and sturdier wiring, and is also replacing some outdated equipment. Peggy Keene, PSEG's Vice President for Construction and Operations, said in an announcement that, quote, we are working hard to reduce the number of outages that occur during severe weather by strengthening the electric lines that directly power homes and businesses. Here's a rundown of the roads where work will take place: Flamingo Avenue, Manor Road, parts of Edgemere Street and Navy Road, and a section of Old Montauk Highway in the vicinity of Tara Road and Cemetery Road. Now let's find out what's happening in our community this week.
Our community calendar is brought to you by the folks at 27East, covering the South Fork in print and online at 27east.com. On Saturday, March 15th, it's all about kittens at the Animal Rescue Fund of the Hamptons. Its annual kitten shower happens from noon to 2 p.m., where you can learn about how to care for a kitten and sign up to foster or volunteer at the shelter. You might even feel inspired to bring home a new pet. arvhamptons.org has more information on this and other future events. Also on Saturday, Guildhall presents a showing of the opera Fidelio, courtesy of the popular Metropolitan Opera Live program. It runs 1 to 4 p.m. Tickets start at $32 over at guildhall.org. Right here at LTV Studios on Sunday, March 16th, is the next installment of our World Voices series featuring Isle of Lesbos in concert at 4 p.m. This unique and fun-loving quartet takes on Yiddish musical traditions with loving irreverence and profound respect. Tickets start at $30, with a student discount available online at ltveh.org. Restoring the Health of Sag Pond, a presentation of the Peconic Land Trust, takes place virtually Thursday, March 20th at 7 p.m. Hear about steps being taken to restore the water and its ecosystem. PeconicLandTrust.org has more information.
Our correspondent Dara Berger was at the local Unitarian Universalist Meeting House last weekend, checking out a special performance in support of the organization Hope and Resilience Long Island.
These women have more in common than the ability to sing, dance, as well as make us laugh and cry. Each one of them is a local community member that took part in today's performance of the Vagina Monologues in order to raise money for a cause.
So it's a fundraiser for my nonprofit, Hope and Resilience Long Island. And the nonprofit serves victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking on the East End.
So it helps women and their families find, a safe place to be. It helps them with legal representation, legal advocacy, counseling, and all the kinds of services that women who are coming out of a domestic violence situation or a sexual assault situation might need.
Grank said that Harley is a nonprofit that does not have any paid staff or office space, so every single dollar raised goes towards helping women and families in need.
And with the Vagina Monologues, it's a fun and also very moving way to share information about women and women's bodies. And in some of the monologues, it covers the more troubling topics of sexual assault and other abuses against women.
The show was absolutely amazing.
Dara Berger reporting in Bridgehampton, New York for LTV East End News.
Let's go now to Inside the Archive, a weekly segment for the local history buff in all of us.
Inside the Archive is our weekly look back in time, thanks to the East Hampton Library's digital Long Island collection. This video addresses a problem we still see a lot of today, littering. Here's what the Montauk Litter Action Committee had to say back in April of 1999 when this piece was first aired on LTV.
Across America, litter is an ongoing issue. Montauk, Long Island is no exception. Litter also tends to collect in public places. Places where there is no sense of ownership. Places where there is an assumption that someone else will clean up. There is also an underlying norm that it is acceptable to litter where litter has already accumulated. To reduce litter, we need to first identify its source. We can then stop the problem at its source by preventing the behavior that made it seem okay to litter in the first place. These are the key steps to a successful litter prevention program.
This type of awareness work is still carried out today by the East Hampton Town Litter Action Committee.
Our friends over at Stony Brook Southampton Hospital want everyone to be healthy. Their latest wellness break addresses heart health and rehabilitation. Let's check it out.
Hi, I'm Jessica Swaitosha. I'm a nurse practitioner and the manager of cardiopulmonary and vascular rehab at Stony Brook Southampton Hospital. Cardiac rehab is a program that's offered to patients after they have an event such as a stent, a heart attack, maybe open heart surgery. Perhaps they've had congestive heart failure and need some professional guidance on how to move forward and how to best achieve health. Our program is focused mainly on exercise along with education for secondary prevention. It really involves that professional aspect. So patients that choose to go doing exercise alone, they're not getting that guided exercise where we have an exercise prescription that's developed and tailored to the individual, as well as all that personalized education. Some patients may need nutrition, some patients may need more stress management, but we're here to provide all of those services. So the major benefits of cardiac rehab are a supervised exercise program led by professionals, our team of registered nurses, exercise physiologists, physical therapists, and even respiratory therapists and registered dietitians all collaborate and make up a multidisciplinary program for patients that include exercise but a lot of education. And focusing on secondary prevention, we look to make lifelong changes for our patients. So a typical cardiac rehab program lasts for 36 sessions. Each session typically lasts about 1 hour. And in that program, they're focused on exercise. We have varied types of equipment, so they're increasing their functional capacity. The other benefits of the program are the social aspect. So the rehab is done in a group setting, even though the exercise is individualized to each patient. But the group setting really provides that camaraderie, that social support, making patients feel like they are not alone and they're in this together with other people. So that support is really critical. I really enjoy working with this patient population because you really get to see the gains that they make. We're seeing them 3 times a week, so we really develop close relationships with them, and to see their progress and help them regain some of what they've lost during their cardiac event, really just making them able to be able to function back to the things that they like to be doing. It's very rewarding. Also seeing the relationships that are made between patients, it's great to see, and I really enjoy it.
Thanks again to Stony Brook Southampton for that important health information. We've got one last update for you, this one from the sidelines of the Long Island High School Basketball Playoffs, where our friend Drew Budd from 27east.com had a front row seat.
A 14-game winning streak came to an end on Tuesday for the Southampton High School boys varsity basketball team. This was a high-stakes game, the semifinal round of the Class A Long Island Championships. The Mariners fell to Mount Sinai 75-67, ending its season short of a county title for the 4th straight year. Southampton's Tyson Reddick sank a three-pointer to tie the score at 59 in the third quarter, but the Mariners struggled with rebounding in the final minutes. Junior Alex Franklin finished the game with a team-high 24 points, and senior Navon Williams added 16 for the Mariners. He ends his career as the second leading scorer in Southampton program history.
The Bridgehampton School boys basketball team is still in the running. The Killer Bees play at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday at Center Moriches High School. We'll bring you all those updates and more in our next episode of East End News. I'm Christine Sampson for East End News on LTV. Thank you for watching.